there, this is Helen from HypnoFit, and today I thought I'd tell you about some of the things that we do here at HypnoFit and some of the incredible work that we do. And I know that for some of you, you don't quite understand how hypnotherapy works. Your only exposure to hypnotherapy is really through stage hypnosis shows, which are fantastic and a lot of fun, but they're there for entertainment, and you don't really understand as to how it would work to have some, real therapeutic benefit as a result of underlying fears, phobias, and issues that are keeping people stuck. So I thought that I would give you a specific example, and if you like this sort of format, I'm happy to do that for other issues as well. So I'll give you an example of a particular gentleman who came to me with a phobia of driving on a freeway. And so with this particular phobia, this particular gentleman was very scared of driving on a freeway, and so he would do everything he could to avoid doing that, which was a real pain in the backside, because what that meant was that he couldn't go anywhere efficiently or effectively. So he's a busy man and he's got a high profile job, but if he was on the road to see a client or to see a business partner, he would have to find a route that would bypass any kind of freeway. So that, for those of you listening from overseas, what a freeway is a motorway, somewhere where cars don't stop. They just go very, very fast until they get off at the next exit. And so, hi Angela, good to see you. And so this particular gentleman, this was really affecting his life, because he forever was having to make excuses as to why he needed a lift, or why he needed to go a specific way, or whatever. So he would take so much longer than he needed to get anywhere. So it was quite a hindrance in his life. So for years he'd been seeing other therapists, psychologists and so on, but the thing is, with this sort of phobia, it's totally illogical. So there's no talking that will actually make it any better, because logically he's very clever, and his conscious mind is telling him that there is nothing wrong, that he's perfectly safe on a freeway and that he will survive the experience. But his subconscious mind, there was a massive fear that would rush through his body, and he felt very faint and almost like he was going to pass out. And so there's a big disconnect there in terms of what his conscious mind knows is possible and what his subconscious mind actually feels. And this is where hypnotherapy and hypnosis is so incredibly powerful, because it's not about what he thinks, it's about what he feels. It doesn't matter how much logic there is about knowing that it's okay to drive on a freeway. If your subconscious mind is saying danger, 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 get out of here, and that freeze, flight or fight response is activated, where the blood rushes to the hands and the feet and the digestive system just stops working altogether, because the subconscious mind believes that there is danger going on, and so it's ready to release adrenaline, but there's no adrenaline to be released because there's actually no danger. So that's what happens with anxiety, is that we actually have a physical reaction to it. Our body responds in a very physical way as we prepare ourselves for danger, which is not actually happening. And so this is what I did. So we had his second session today, but after one session, he was back driving on the freeway. And so what we did in that very first session, first of all, you have to release the fear. It's come from somewhere. Even when you don't logically know where it comes from, it has come from somewhere. And so when we spoke about it consciously in the first part of the session, he wasn't aware of where it came from. He couldn't connect the dots. But I said to him not to worry about that, because quite often people say to me, oh, I don't have any memory of this or that or whatever. And I say it's okay, because we're not speaking to the conscious mind. We're speaking to the subconscious mind. Hi, Simone. How are you? And so what we did was, so I put him into a very, very light trance, and went back to the very first time that he felt that emotion of fear. Because of course, anxiety is fear for the future, but in order to have that severe fear for the future, there has to have been a cause. There has to be something that caused that phobia in the first place, even if he doesn't consciously know that. And so it's only through hypnosis and through accessing the subconscious mind that everything is available. And so where we went back to was in his childhood experience when he was about 6 years old. He had actually gone to the beach with his uncle and his auntie, and he found himself in a whirlpool of water that was out of control. So you can see that the fear doesn't necessarily have to be related to a road or the freeway. So even though his current phobia is about driving on a freeway, it's the same sensation, because when you drive on a freeway, you have that feeling almost like you're out of control, like there's a lot of things happening around you, and you can feel like you're not in control of the situation. Same emotion as when he experienced when he felt that he nearly drowned when he was 6 years old, and he was in that whirlpool of water and he was out of control. So what we did was we were able to release that fear by him looking down at his younger self with his adult eyes, and taking his learnings from that and then moving on. I've got a question from Simone. Hi Helen, what about fear of death in a child? Okay, so are you saying, Simone, that where the child is actually fearing death, so that they're anxious about that whole concept of death? So we would deal with that in terms of, you know, what's going on. There's something that has brought that fear about. It didn't just happen on its own. There's some story they heard, and you may not have even been aware of them hearing something. Okay, yes. So you may not have been aware of them hearing something, but they could have heard something when you thought they weren't listening, of someone dying and just not knowing what happens at the end of that. And that's why, if you like, what studies have shown is that religion actually has a really good place here, because there's a buffer zone between people thinking, you know, as to what actually happens in the afterlife and what happens there. And so there's a protection mechanism there, which helps us to feel that it's going to be okay. But yeah, what we would do with a child is, with children, if they're under the age of 12, the most powerful technique to use is a technique called sleep talk. And that's where we train the parents to hypnotize their child. So there's two ways of doing it. You can either take your child to someone who specializes in those sort of issues. And if that's the case, if you want to do that, Simone, I, of course, being a leader in this industry and mentoring many hypnotherapists, I know exactly who specializes in what. So if you're interested in that, I can help you. Otherwise, a wonderful technique is sleep talk, whereby we train the parents to hypnotize the child. And so what happens is that every single night there is something that you need to say to the child, which helps them alleviate that anxiety. Hi Vaughan, nice to see your love hearts going across the screen. I love it, beautiful. And so yes, there's something going on, Simone. If that child is afraid of death, there's some anxiety that's going on that needs to be released. And the thing is with anxiety is that it does get worse over time if it's not actually taken care of. It's the kind of thing that can get worse and worse and worse and worse until you end up having something like a panic attack. And then what happens is that the panic attacks themselves take over, and you start fearing panic attacks themselves. Hi Kathy, good to see you, babe. And so massive panic attacks, she's 13. Okay, so she's over the age of 12. So in that case, we wouldn't do sleep talk. She's actually ready for hypnotherapy from a hypnotherapist. And being in anxiety, that's something we can definitely 100% help her with here. You know, that's one of our specialties here at HypnoFeed is anxiety. So very, very happy to see her. So Simone, if you wanted to bring her in just for a chat, no charge, just complimentary, just to see if this is something that she's interested in doing, just organise it and we'll see her. So very, very happy to see her. Yeah, given that she's 13, she's over that age of 12 where we sort of say, you know, sleep talk is appropriate. She does actually need hypnotherapy for having panic attacks. So there's something going on with her there. So yeah, happy to have a chat with her to find out a little bit more about her specific circumstances. But going back to my client, where we removed a phobia in one session. So like I was saying, just to recap, he had this massive phobia about driving on freeways. Huge. Oh, hi Felicia. Huge phobia about driving on freeways, which meant that it really slowed him down in his life. He had to always take the long way around to go anywhere because he thought he was going to absolutely pass out if he was on a freeway. And he didn't know consciously as to what the cause of that was, just from having a normal conversation. Because he understands logically, he's a very smart man, that's a complete illogical fear. But the thing you've got to understand with phobias, they're not logical, they're illogical. And so no kind of logical counselling is going to assist them. Because it doesn't matter what you say. If you say, oh, it's not going to happen, you'll be fine, you can just take it easy, it's not going to help the subconscious mind. There is a fear there that's keeping them stuck. And so the only way we could remove that was through hypnotherapy. And so in that very first session, like I said, what actually happened as soon as I put him into trance was that the very first time he felt that emotion of fear was when he was 6 years old and he went on a trip to the beach and he nearly drowned. And that sensation of that water going around his head, basically he felt out of control. And it's the same as when you're on a freeway, you feel out of control. And so we had to remove that fear. The way that we removed the fear was that what happens is we get him to look down at his younger self with his adult eyes and take all the positive learnings from that experience until the emotion is gone. Once the emotion is gone, then we come all the way back to now and pass over any other event where he had that emotion of fear. And there was another big event where he also had fear. So there was 2 events that caused this phobia. And the other event was where he was actually stuck underneath a beanbag, and one of his cousins had actually sat on top of him and he couldn't breathe, and he felt like that cousin wasn't going to get off. And so he felt again out of control and stuck and overwhelmed with this emotion of panic and fear. And again, we had to release that. And by releasing those 2 events, that released the cause of the phobia. And so those 2 events, which he completely forgot about consciously, was what caused him to feel a phobia about driving on a freeway. And so then at the end of the session, I showed him some very powerful techniques about how to deal with anxiety. And that's all about visualizing the future after the successful completion of the event, and always having that positive image in his brain as opposed to that negative image, and trained him how to do that properly. So that was just 2 days ago was his first session. Today he walked in and he's already driven on a freeway in between times. So it was absolutely fantastic. I was thrilled. So today all we had to do was I wanted to just make 100% sure that he is definitely over this phobia of driving freeway. So all I did today was I scrambled the pattern. There's a pattern that happens in your subconscious mind with regards to a thought process that keeps going on again and again and again and again. So what we did was scramble it so that it didn't make sense anymore. And that picture that he kept seeing, that phobia picture, that scene by scene picture, was completely scrambled in his subconscious mind. So he couldn't even bring it up again, even if he tried. And then followed that up with a deep trance session on positive suggestions about how it feels like to drive down a freeway, where we really slow down time and slow down the whole process of him making the right choices, looking around him and checking that he's in control, and that he is in control of his circumstances and his whole environment. So you can see with 2 sessions. So this guy, really 1 session, but today just nailed it. This guy has been trying to do therapy for this at a conscious level for years. But, you know, it's never helped. And that's because you can't remove a subconscious problem consciously. It takes too long. Whereas the subconscious mind works so quickly and so efficiently that you can just, in very quick amount of time, get to where you need to go to. And that's the power of hypnosis. I wish I could tell you more, but I've got a client who's about to walk in the door. So it's fun. I love getting rid of phobias because they're actually fun. Because it's always interesting to see what the actual cause is. Because usually the person doesn't know consciously what it is. And we find that out through the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind has all the memories of everything that's ever happened. You know, like sometimes people come in and say, oh, Helen, you know what? I don't have any memories. I can't remember anything about my childhood. Okay, yeah, right. Consciously, you don't have any memories, but subconsciously, everything is in there. Everything. It's like a you know, on your computer, how you've got your current folders and you've got your archive folders, and your archive folders have got all your old files in there. Well, you don't see them in front of mine, but if you go looking for them, you find them. And that's what happens with the subconscious mind, is that every single memory, everything that ever happened to you is there ready for you to access as soon as you need it. I had somebody come to me recently who told me he had no memory of his childhood at all. And when I put him into hypnosis, we went back to the womb. Yes, he was in the womb. And yes, there are emotions associated with being in the womb. It all sounds incredible and amazing, I know. And that's because we are amazing. And each and every one of us is unique. And our subconscious mind, you don't even know the power that you've got. You've got the most incredible, immense power within you right now that you have no idea how capable you are and how incredible and immense the power of our subconscious mind is. And I'm so excited when, you know, when this comes about and people are just blown away at their own incredible power and the miracle of our subconscious mind and what we're all capable of, each and every one of us. And so I've got to go now, otherwise I can sit there and talk for hours. So have a good day, have a good weekend, and I'm off to see my client who's come to me for anxiety, my favourite topic. And it's my favourite topic, well, one of my favourite topics, because it's just so easy to help. So Amanda, you just came in at the end of it, so you need to watch it from the beginning. All right? Okay, so see you later, beautiful people. Lovely to see so many people on the call today. I love you all, and have a good weekend. And if you missed the beginning of it, have a listen, because you'll be amazed as to how incredible your subconscious mind is. Okay, see you later. Bye.